Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back in here to Wenzel's World. I'm sitting out here this morning on a dry creek bottom. All these rocks right here is where you usually hear the waterfall when I'm up under the old railroad bridge here. But since it hadn't rained in a couple of 3 weeks, then it's getting dry. And of course the creek bottom is dried up and we just got some pools of water on. And that level spot back up in there, there's one pool of water I've been getting the livestock's water out of. Although they got a pond they can go to back there and get water, they just hadn't been doing so. And I'm looking at and ahead of me there, and there's a pool of water, and then over in yonder is the river, and I don't see it moving at all either, so pretty dry. And so how's things where you are? And this morning then, I got several things to talk about, so we'll get started. First of all here, we got our Peterson pipe. This is a spigot, you can tell. Spigot. And then, of course, it's a P-lip edition, and it's a system pipe. And my Zippo lighter here, compliments of Wenzel's World. That's what we got in it, Peterson's Balkan Mixture. Now when you go to look this up on the, see, what's the smokingpipes.com list of what they, are different Peterson tobaccos, they'll have family, it'll be aromatic or burley or Virginia or English. They classify this Balkan mixture in the English category. It says it's a traditional mixture comprising the finest of Virginia tobaccos plus a hint of Louisiana Perique and a generous portion of Cypress Latakia, a delight for the seasoned pipe smoker. It says strength is 3, aromatic taste, you can forget that. They don't need to put that in there. It don't have aromatic taste at all to it. And room note 2. And so I agree with all that except for the aromatic taste. It just tastes like an English blend to me. And they call it Balkan Mixture. Now I showed you this tin right here, but it's been jarred up in a jar since, let's see, I think it's been April or May of last year. So they do better when you put them in them jars like that and just let them sit around. And let me say this before I get started chatting with you. There's been some presenters, okay, let me put it this way. There's been some viewers of the channel that have sent me some things, and I want to thank them here on the channel for it. First of all here is I got several of these right here in the mail. You say, what in the world is that? What you use that for? Well, it ain't no tamper. This is a weight. You say, okay, well, what do you do with that? How does that fit into pipe smoking? It don't. You say, well, what sent that to you for? I said something on the channel about getting me some BBs and making me a bag, a leather bag, and putting them in there. And so this one of the viewers of the channel sent me several of these weights, and so he said, "Oh, what do you do with them things?" Well, you just put them on your project. You say, "Well, what's that?" Well, say for example, here's a good example. Whenever I'm going to do some carving on a piece of leather, I put a little weight on that. Yeah, I know what it is. I haven't tracing film. Had to figure out what it was called. Uh, so you got your pattern on this tracing film, and then you want to hold it down and use your hand and your other hand to do the tracing with. So you need some type of a little weight. So I just lay that on it. Of course, there's several of them. There's some of them that's bigger than that one, and you can put them on your leather project, and hold things together while you're working on some other part of it. So that's what that's for. Then another viewer wanted to, and I appreciate the weights. Thank you. And then another viewer, not a presenter, sent me this right here. And it is briar and smoke rings pipe salve. So what you do with that then, you just open it up. I just get it on my fingers, or a finger and my thumb, and you just put it on your briar like that right there. And it gives some shine to it and helps to hydrate the briar. So I appreciate the viewer that sent this to me from Japan. Pipe salve. Put it on your briars. Thank you, sir. And then another, this is a presenter, trucking piper, Doug, from down Mississippi. Of course, they don't tell where he is now. Maybe up in New York, out in California, maybe down Louisiana, or he might be at home, or he could be way up somewhere another close to Canada, but you'll never know. He sent me, okay, this is what he sent me. And I don't want to waste any of this, so. Big long strips of tobacco. See them big long strips of tobacco? And I smoked it one time. I got it in the mail Saturday. And I smoked some of it. And I'll say one thing about it, it stays lit good and it lasts a long time. I can't remember now what pipe I smoked it in, but it sure lasts a long time. Some like, I don't know, I don't know what it was now. I hate to say. Seemed like to me it was right at 2 hours. Of course, I didn't just stay at it, and I didn't really set it down and go off and do something either. It would just went out and sat down a little bit while whatever I was doing. I looked at a few videos, some of y'all's channels Saturday. I had a little catching up time, a little time. I could get caught up on y'all's videos. So it lasts a long time. Doug wanted a belt made to fit him, so I made him a belt and sent it to him, and so he sent me the payment for the belt plus this tobacco right here. And you said, what is that? I couldn't tell you. There wasn't no note in there. All I know it's a big long string tobacco. So if you watching, Doug, if you can, in the comments down there, when you get time, if you can tell me what that is, who put it out, what's in it, or something like that, you know what I'm saying. You can put it in there. I'll write it on that jar right there so I'll know. I hope I don't forget. I put some tobacco in one jar, I thought, and I meant to put something on it and never did. And I went back and I thought, what's in this jar? But I'm pretty sure it's the big and burley is what I put in that jar. Still need to write it on it before I forget again. So y'all don't have that problem though, do you? So, and I'm sitting out here today on these rocks. I ain't got my chair. My chair's all wet with dew. And if you know much about denim, I didn't want to get my jeans damp from the dew from sitting on that chair. It took half a day for them to dry out, I guess. So anyway, I didn't want to do that. And I got me some coffee here. And I think that's everything I wanted to say about folks that sent me some things. And there might be somebody else, but I can't think of who it is. I've had them wait for a while. And so, anyway, and pipe saff I got Saturday, along with the tobacco there. Well, the coffee maker, it went out. I say it went out, I'm cut it in half and save that burning part and put my mug on to keep it warmer. Keep it warm all to the end. I like coffee hot to the last drop. And I don't know, went one morning and put the water in and the grains in there and turned around and looked and there's water all over the countertop. So things broke somehow or another. So I got a different coffee maker. I picked up one at a yard sale for $5. One of them stainless steel ones you put on well, you can be camping out and put it on a hot bed of coals and make it up, or you can put it on top of the range, your burner, your range, and make it that way. So anyway, it's got the entrals in it where you can put it. It's a percolator is what it is. Of course, you can always take the entrals out of it and make what they call cowboy coffee with it. That just means it's just coffee grains put in water and boiled. And then when you get through boiling it, you pour a little bit of cold water on top of it, and that makes the grains go to the bottom. Let it sit there a little bit and then start drinking it. So anyway, nice cool morning this morning. Well, I've been thinking about something. Y'all ever work mules? Ever had any dealings with a mule? And you can use mules for different things. You've got a gaited mule, which is one that you ride. Of course, you can ride any of them if they broke for that. And then you've got your work mule and so forth and all. You ever work with mules? Back about 1988, I guess it was, I was selling firewood one winter, and I thought, well, if I had me a mule to get up in them woods, I could snake them wood logs out and with a mule and get the pile closer to the truck. I had a two-wheel drive 69 Ford pickup truck is what I was using. And if you got in the mud somewhere or another, Katie barred the door, you was there. Of course, I had snow chains on it, try to help with that. Had some rolls of carpet, try to put under the tires to help with it. They'll help in some circumstances like that. So, anyway, I bought me a mule, and it wasn't a great big mule, but it was, I think she was 13 hands high, I believe, but she was a husky mule. So she could do what I got her to do, so I was snaking wood logs with her. And in case you don't know what that means, those are logs that's used to cut up for firewood. Thus, the term we used down in Tennessee was wood logs. And so she worked good for that. If she hadn't worked for a few days or something or other, she was real hyper in the morning, especially. She'd she'd take off, real fast dragging them logs. Then after she got tuckered out a time or two of dragging, why, she'd just walk along dragging it. And she done real good. I didn't have any driving reins on her. Once I, led her up to the pile and things like that and all, of course I had a lead rope is what I'd doing with her, get her up there. Anyway, once she knew where the pile was to be, she'd go there and stop. So she worked pretty good for that. I say she is a mare mule. So tamp this down here a little bit. This tamper I got right here and a yabo from the mustard seed piper. And these channels you can check out, the mustard seed piper channel if you want to view another channel, or the truckin' piper channel if you want to view another channel. And so back to the mule then, why, then I traded for a track of cedar and was snaking cedar logs with her. And they had to be cut up into 8 foot long. Of course, that was back, I guess that was probably something like, well, that would have been something like 1990 or so. And of course, being a lot younger back there, I didn't have the back trouble I have now. I couldn't load those logs by hand like I did back then. So, and really, I didn't have no business doing it then. I've always been about the size that I am. And I guess I'm paying for it now because my back's hurting me right now. She's a good old mule though, but I couldn't catch her. If she's out in the field somewhere or another, I couldn't catch her. She wouldn't let me catch her. Now a woman could catch her. My wife could catch her. I can't remember about my boy. I can't remember if he could catch her or not. Of course, he wouldn't have been but about 3 or 4 years old, something like that. I don't remember. But a woman could catch her, man couldn't catch her. Now, if she was in a stall somewhere or another, you could walk into the stall and catch her if she had a halter on or not. I had the bright idea one time I was going to put a garden in with her, so I'd work for a man, paint his house down there in Chapel Hill, Tennessee, and he had some plows, and he kept them in the dry and had all the wood on it painted red. There was a turning plow, a triple double shovel, and a bull tongue. And so I traded for them plows then and brought them home and hitched her up. And the thing that she wouldn't plow a straight furrow. she wanna go, and then she go yonder way, and then she might go back over this crisscross. I mean, and I guess she was used to pulling them wood logs, and if she hit a stump or a tree while she's pulling them, she would, it would stop her, and she would just go a different direction to try to pull that log away from whatever had her held up. And I guess she thought she was dragging wood logs. She wouldn't plow straight furrow. My mom and my daddy was there that day at the house. And we had the bright idea that if my mama got on the mule with the reins and held her, that she could guide her where she would go straight. And of course, my mama, she came up the old way, meaning that she never did wear pantsuits and pants and stuff like that. The only time I ever seen her wear something like that, she went blackberry picking one morning. She put on a pair of my daddy's overalls to go blackberry picking in, and that's the only time I'd ever seen her in anything other than a skirt or a dress. So there she was with her dress on. We got her up on that mule, and so we commenced to try to plow. And oh me, still none hardly any better. That mule wasn't going to plow no straight furrow, so suffice it to say, I didn't put a garden in with that mule that year. Put a garden in, but didn't put it in with that mule. So, if we'd have had that on film back in them days, of course, we didn't have the type of thing we got here today with this here cell phones and these cameras and YouTube and all the stuff like that. So, anyway, yeah. And so I eventually sold the mule, got to where, I didn't need her any longer. And I thought, well, I'll let somebody else use her. I advertised her and a man came along. Seemed like to me he bought I can't remember. Seemed like to me though he did buy her and those plows that I had. So he was going to try to use her. I don't know how things, I don't know how things went with him and that, so on. So I probably told him. I usually tell people, they ask me how they work, and I usually tell them, So anyway, I like to never sell a tractor one time I had because people wanted to know how the tractor worked, and I just told them, well, here's what the problem is. Now, this will work, that'll work, this won't work, that won't work. I like to never sold that tractor. But a fella, he appreciated the honesty, so there's a man finally come along and bought the tractor that I had. I had a farm all wide front end tractor. I always wanted one of them kind of tractors. It had a front end loader on it, but anyway. So, well, I'll get on off here, I guess. I need to. This is Labor Day. So, you know what we do on Labor Day, don't you? We labor. You say, well, I know you're joking. No, I'm not. You say, well, you don't labor on Labor Day. You take that day off. Well, see, that's the thing of it. Most of my work's been, independent or what you call self-employed. So if you're self-employed, you need to be self-motivated too. So, I remember working one time, I'll try to get off here. But I remember working one time, and I didn't know it was no holiday. It was one of them holidays, Memorial Day, Labor Day, I don't know what day it was. Veterans Day or something. Anyway, I went to get the paint that I needed to do a paint job, and they were closed. The store was. I thought, what in the world? Why are they closed today? Well, come to find out, it was one of them holidays that everybody takes off for. So we never did take off for holidays. Mama, she cooked dinner, for Thanksgiving. And of course, we didn't work on Christmas Day. But the rest of the days, I mean, you know, we work. So when I get through here, then why, I'll get the Lord's will. I get the tractor fired up, and get on and do some bush hogging out here in the fields. I got started on last week and didn't get finished up. So anyway, so we'll try to do that today because I got to take off tomorrow. I got to go to the chiropractor and go grocery shopping. See, that's how things work when you're self-employed. Now, you might not be able to take off like the world does on one day because you may have to take off another day that week. So, anyway, you folks that do homeschooling, you homeschool your children, you can understand that. And so, and you people that are self-employed, you understand that. Now, you folks, you know, that work for somebody else in a factory or construction, whatever kind, you got somebody over you, you know, in a company. The company says, well, we're taking this day off, then, you know, you take advantage of it, take that day off. Well, when you're self-employed, why, you set your own hours, you set your own pay, and so anyway, that's how it is when you're self-employed, and that's been most of my life. I've been self-employed like that. So, well, I'll get off here then, and so y'all have a good Labor Day, and have a good week this week. If nothing don't happen, we'll see you next week, if not before. So until then, adios.